I'm really excited about this one. So his name is James Whittaker. No relation to Lori Whittaker, but it just was coincident. And so he works at Microsoft as a distinguished engineer. And some cool facts about him is that he wanted me to tell you that he quit the FBI, he quit IBM, and he quit Google. And one of the other things that he wanted you to check out is his hashtag. So it's Twitter hashtag DocJamesW. Check him out. And he's going to be giving you an awesome presentation tonight. So with further ado, James, come on up.
Thank you, Ona. If you look into the future and see the present, you're wrong. That has never happened. Not once since any of us have been alive has the future ever been the same as the present. Change is the one thing that we can guarantee is going to happen. What is that change going to be? Can you answer? Even ask. Do you do this on a regular basis? Ask the question, what's next? Because if you don't ask that, and you don't have an answer to that, you are going to spend the rest of the decade chasing that future. That's not a good place to be. So, what will this future look like? I'm going to give you my opinion today. I don't want you to accept my opinion. I want you to come up with your own. If you learn one thing today, it's going to be an appreciation of the future and your ability to anticipate it and therefore get there first. What technology will be required? What skills are you going to need to master? In fact, when you're talking about UX, what are you all going to be doing in 5 years? What are you going to be doing in 10 years? If you haven't thought about that, you are going to be chasing that future for a decade. So, here's how I'm going to approach the future. I am going to talk about the disruption that is occurring right now, because the future is a disruption of the present. The present is a disruption of the past. Now, in my career, I've seen 3 disruptions. I've worked for the companies that have been disrupted, and I've worked for companies that did the disruption. So I'm going to give you my view of these 3 disruptions, and I'm going to argue that there's one happening right now. This year, 2016, 2017, those 2 years are going to determine the future. And what you do to get involved with that is going to determine your future. So do you want one, or do you just want to chase it? The first disruption that I experienced happened back right around the late 80s, early 90s. I was an IBM employee during this time, and IBM was disrupted. They've never recovered. Now, there's a couple of hints in these disruptions, and you're going to see that the pattern, as we go, oh, look at all that space over there to your right, look at all that space, there's more disruptions to come, you're going to notice a very serious pattern, right? The first thing that happens is slowing innovation, and I experienced this firsthand at IBM. We called it a feasibility study. Basically, it was a 6-month period where all of us gathered around and tried to talk each other out of doing anything different. We tried to make every excuse you could for not innovating, for keeping the status quo, because you're IBM in the 80s and you don't really want anything to change, do you? When you own the present, you want the future to be the same. Every single incumbent wants the future to be the same. It's a future we understand. It's a future we know how to monetize. It's a future our technology is perfect for. That's how we won. But you don't get to make that decision. The other thing is developer pain. Right at the end of one of these eras, you see developers suffering. And here's our first hint about the future. When developers suffer, they can be poached. When developers are not happy, a new technology comes along and they will adopt it. And we had that pain working on this big client servers, right? Whether it was IBM, whether it was Avax, whether it was Sun Microsystems. We had this idea of a dumb terminal and all the action happened on the server. Developer pain. We had to make a round trip to a server with every compile. We had to make a round trip to the server every time we wanted to use some kind of analytical tool. And then along came the PC. There it was, sitting right under our desk. Are you kidding me? I could put all my developer rig locally? Really? You'll do that for me? I get my dev tools, I get my compiler, I can compile all my shit, and no one knows I'm fixing those bugs. I could perfect it, I could massage it, I could get it just right. Developers love the PC. Of course they wanted to program for that. And Sun and IBM and all these companies, I remember Sun, you can't market your way out of irrelevance, by the way, and Sun tried. Do you remember? That's tweetable, right? That's tweetable. There's my Twitter handle. That's tweetable right there. They had fat client, right? They're trying to make fun. Oh, fat clients. Who wants a fat client? Apparently everybody does. Apparently fat is way sexier than anything else because we all wanted a PC. We all wanted that power. And we got it. And when we got it, new scenarios became possible. Medium-sized companies couldn't afford those big mainframes. Small companies couldn't fit them in the offices. You certainly couldn't put them in a home. Now, all of a sudden, you've solved some developer pain, and you've provided them with new scenarios. Home users, small business users, medium-sized business users. Go innovate, and that's what happens. You give developers tools they feel good about. You give them the potential of new scenarios to code, and guess what they do? They innovate. And when developers innovate, users follow the innovation. That's the pattern you're going to see, the exact same pattern. Oh, there's still a bunch of stuff to come. Aren't you excited? Same pattern, because it happened again. At the end of the 90s, what was happening? Slowing innovation. The features of all of these desktop apps were kind of the same, right? Your word processor in 1999 was basically the same as it was in 1995, 1994. Same features. Okay, it went from menus to a ribbon. Where's the innovation? It's slowing down, and that means new opportunity and developer pain. On the PC, you're stuck on the PC. You're stuck on your local area network. You can't innovate to the world. Go on, build Facebook just for the PC. Go on, build Amazon.com just for the PC. You can't. So the web came along and new scenarios all of a sudden were possible. eBay, Amazon, Facebook, all of these scenarios that weren't possible in the other era. You see the pattern now? Slowing innovation. Developer pain, and there was developer pain. Developers had to ship their software on disks. You had to go into Best Buy and buy their apps. Not anymore. You could go to the web and download it. You were limited to the number of people who had your bits on their desktop. Not anymore. All they needed to do is find you on the web. Developer pain erased. And so we enter a new era, a web era. New scenarios. And of course, just like the other ones, what is it about 10 years? This is crazy. This is reliable as Moore's law, by the way. Go on, do your research. You're good at it, right? Slowing innovation. All of this, look, slowing innovation. Think about your browser for a moment. That little tool that gets you to the web. Browsers, the most modern browsers, Edge and Chrome, right? What do? You launch them and you get a rectangle on your screen. It's got a text box on it. You click on the text box. You type in a search string. You hit enter and you get 10 blue links. That's the exact same way Netscape Navigator worked in 1994. 1994, are you kidding me? That's slowing innovation. That's the opportunity for somebody to come in and do something new. And who was it? It was Steve Jobs, the iPhone. But it wasn't the iPhone. We already had one of those. The iPhone didn't do anything that the BlackBerry or Windows Phone or anything, the Palm Pilot, anything else did. What it did is it understood how to solve developer pain. You see, the feature of the iPhone that made it the phenomenon was the App Store, because that was the new scenario. All of a sudden, you can use mobile signals. You can just, come on, how did you get an app on your BlackBerry? You had to know where it was on the web, www.wheretheisthatapp.com. The download experience was different, and the updates experience was different. Go on, you ever had to hack your registry to get an app working on your phone? Are you kidding me? That's developer pain. And along came Steve Jobs and said, look, you don't have to do all that. You write a mobile app, I'm going to put it in a little store. Right there on your home screen. You click on that icon, and people are going to pay you for it. Really? You do that for me? That's the secret to owning the future. Make developers say that exact word. Really? You do that for me? And as soon as developers start innovating, the users follow. Look what's happened in this. If you were writing code in the 2010s, you were writing it for mobile. If you were writing code in 2000s, you were writing it for the web. If you were writing code in the 90s, you were writing it for the desktop. Developers. You want the future? Follow software developers, because that's what users do. And of course, now, slowing innovation. Don't believe me? Look at Apple's last quarter numbers. Look at all the press around they're not innovating anymore. No one's buying the iWatch. Oh my gosh. Where's Apple's next? Oh, they need Steve Jobs back. They keep talking about all this stuff, right? That's because innovation is slowing. It's not Apple's fault. This 10-year cycle is reliable as Moore's law. Something's coming. We are at one of these era changes right now. We have slowing innovation. We have developer pain. So let's take a look at this developer pain. And I think that's where we're going to discover the future, because that's where the future has always been. When developer pain gets solved, developers innovate. When developers innovate, users follow. That's the reliable pattern here. So now, in order to zero in on this developer pain, we need to talk about the future. In order to talk about the future, we have to talk about zombies, people. We have to. I mean, you know all that vampire stuff they put us through a decade ago? Fake, made up, complete bullshit, but zombies are real. They're real. We've mathematically described this virus. We are creating zombie mice in the laboratory right now. It's just a matter of time. So really, movies like World War Z aren't so much entertainment as they are homework. Now, the thing about this movie that just makes it so great is it's got Brad Pitt in it. Are you kidding me? This is the perfect. And there I am with my date, and I'm like, oh, zombies. And she's next to me at the movie. She says, oh, Brad Pitt. She heard about the shirtless scene. She couldn't wait. But then something strange happens halfway through this movie. My date pulls out her phone. She begins sharing screen time. Something on my phone, Brad Pitt. Something on my phone, Brad Pitt. I'm next to her thinking, what, are you insane? If he takes his shirt off and you miss it, I'm not describing it to you. I'm not describing it to you. And then it got even worse. Whatever was on her phone won. And she walked out of the movie theater. That's what I'm saying, right? 3 or 4 minutes later, she comes rushing back and she sits down kind of out of breath and she just starts watching the movie again, breaking every friendship law on the planet. You're not supposed to watch the movie. You're supposed to turn to the person you're with and say, what did I miss? She didn't say that. So I thought, oh, I'll be proactive. So I whispered to her, hey, you didn't miss anything. And she said, I know, because she has an app that tells her when to pee at the movies. There is an app for that. Somebody has watched every single movie. They've curated all the data. Like, oh, here's an action sequence. Don't pee, don't. And there's a new character. Don't pee. Don't. But here's 4 minutes right in the middle. Nothing really happens. Go take a leak. Do you all go to the movies? Raise your hand if you go to the movies. I think it's safe to say every hand in the house is up. How many of you have this app? 2 people in the back. Smallest bladders in the room. What you just experienced there is developer pain. 3 developers, 2 women and a man, wrote this app, watch all those movies, curate that data, upload it to the cloud, and how much money did they make out of a room full of customers, a large room full of customers? A couple of dollars. Developer pain. Now you see the future. Solve this developer pain, and you create the future. So what should that scenario look like? If we're going to talk about new scenarios, how should that work? Take away the screens for a minute. You're at the movie. All right, let's go. We're going to go into the future now, and we're going to watch World War Z. In the future, you're sitting there, and you say, oh, Brad Pitt and zombies, this is great. And then halfway through, you realize, oh, and just then, maybe there's a band on your arm or something. And it says, hey, you gotta go, don't you? And I'm like, why, yes, I do. How did my tech know I had to go to the bathroom? Because in the future, my tech's gonna be watching me. My tech's gonna understand the last time I geolocated James anywhere near a toilet was 2.5 hours ago. I know through big data analysis that James' mean time to bladder evacuation is just about 2.5 hours. The dude's gotta go. And then magic continues, right? She said, well, let's just call her, I don't know, Cortana, just to make up a name, totally random, mind you. She says, don't worry, in 2.5 minutes, there's a 4-minute pee window. You'll be fine. How did she know? Here's how she knew. She knows where I am. She can geolocate me. She can look up the address to that. She can find out that that address is a movie theater. She can look up on the web what movies are playing right now. Oh, wait a minute, we got to geolocate him off the face of the planet. No problem. MSR patent. No problem. And we can look up the floor plan of that building. He's in theater number 6. Or maybe in the future, the theater will tell him itself, will tell your tech, here's what movie your person is in. And then there are the P times, right in the cloud. Because your tech can ask, what do other humans, here's where big data come in, what do other humans who have to pee in a movie theater, what tech do they use? What apps do they use? What websites do they find interesting? And that data is going to come to us. We're not going to go to it. That's what the future looks like. That's the kind of stuff. You telling me that developer wouldn't like every single one of you all as potential customers, even with micropayments, 4 cent, 5 cent, 6 cent P's? Say that 3 times real fast. Of course they would. Those are the new scenarios that we're talking about. In this future, the web is no longer a destination. It's not something you go to get information. The web is a data source that your technology brings to you. The Cortanas and the Siris and the Google Nows of the world are going to be bringing this stuff to us. Likewise, search isn't something that's going to be human-initiated in the future. Where was the search in that? I was watching a movie with my date. I never had to search because those searches were being done offline and behind the scenes by my tech. And then finally, apps. I don't need the Run P app. I just need those times. And those times are up in the cloud, and my tech knows how to get to it. Apps are verbs, like they should be, and not nouns like they are now. There's no more going to the web. There's no more search. There's no more apps. All of this stuff just comes to us. So I think this new era can really be called the Internet of Things. These smart devices in businesses, in homes, worn on our clothing, because they're getting smaller. Understand just what Moore's Law has done to the world. Moore's Law has made this Windows phone that I carry around in my pocket as powerful as any computer that existed in 1994. Sometime around 1995, 1996, a couple of supercomputers were invented that were a little bit faster than this Windows phone I carry in my pocket. Didn't have as much storage, though, neither one of them. That's how fast it's going. That's how small this tech is getting. And if you follow Moore's Law a little bit into the future, this thing gets a lot smaller, although only for 5 years. Moore's Law is going to die in 2020 because we're no longer able to pack any more technology onto silicon and still dissipate the heat. Silicon will, at 2020, every computer will freeze in size forever. Or will it? Do you really think we're going to allow that to happen? Already, IBM is shipping chips with silicon and germanium mix that is going to extend Moore's Law for a few more months to years. Some of the leading edge companies like the one I work for are working with things like graphene and carbon nanotubes that are going to extend them for a few more years. Better material that dissipates heat faster and fits more tech at sub-nano scale. That's what's coming. We're not going to allow Moore's Law to end because we're software engineers, and that's the game we play. So this is the future. And the new scenarios are amazing, and the new scenarios are stuff for you to come up with, not for me to tell you what they are. Well, I'm going to talk about it anyhow, because you need a guide. People look into the future and see the present too often from me, so I'm going to give you a guide because I decided I was going to play around with this. Right now, when you talk about the Internet of Things and you talk about big data, most of the scenarios are kind of boring, and we need new ones. And we need to understand what they look like. So I want you to do this. This is a little exercise I teach at Microsoft. To take your user scenarios and cast them into the future, just like I did with that zombie scenario. What would that scenario of watching a movie and having to urinate look like in 5 years? Take those scenarios and cast them into the future. You're gonna not like often what you see. You're going to worry about privacy. You're going to worry about security, and we can talk about those things. You're also going to worry about your jobs. When the screens go away, when I don't need to look at an app and tell it what I need, when the expression of my intent isn't something I enter into a computer, when I'm just living my life and my tech is figuring out what I need better and faster than I can myself, because my tech can track what other users at the same time, at the same place, trying to do the same thing and satisfy the same intent. Why would I need a UI for that? When the user experience is reduced to simply living like a human being, what are you all going to do? Are you a little bit uncomfortable about this future? You should be. Which is exactly why you should all be asking and answering the question, what's next? So I got a first-hand experience with this because Microsoft does something evil to me every year. They do. Just bask in the evil of this company I work for. They make me take a vacation. They do. They come to me all pissed off. Oh, James, you haven't taken any vacation, and they make me leave. I didn't know what to do. Vacation, what is a vacation? So I Googled it. What is this vacation thing? And it's basically what people who don't love their work do to get away from their work. Do you all know about this? I didn't. It was very strange. So I wandered around for a day, kind of lost, really happy that I lived in a state that legalized. I lost my train of thought there. And then I thought, oh, I know what I'll do for my vacation. I'll go into the future. And so I decided to put a machine on the Internet of Things. A machine that's never been on the Internet of Things, right? Something beyond light bulbs and thermostats. Something that actually is a real pain in the ass for me and that really could kind of, self-maintain itself. And so I chose my hot tub. Because I live in Washington, where never mind. And so I decided the first thing I need to do, because I like to imagine the future, and I pictured Jeff Bezos designing a drone for me that would fly over my hot tub, hover for a second, squirt some chemicals in, and then take off. So using that as my vision, I realized the first thing I'm going to need to be able to do is radio control opening and closing the lid, which turned out was really actually kind of easy. Motors that can be Wi-Fi enabled, Bluetooth enabled, or radio enabled, or a dime a dozen. This took about 2 hours and less than 20 lines of code. Really simple stuff. Now all of a sudden my lid will open and close with an app on my phone. Second thing I thought is I don't want that Amazon drone squirting chemicals in it while I'm in the tub. So I need to be able to monitor use. I need to know when a human's in it. Right? So that was kind of drain the tub, and you put this water sensing tape all over it. And now I know the level, and when a human gets in it, the water level rises, and now that's been turned into data. You're going to see this. When you try to cast your scenarios into the future, you're going to understand how to interpret a completely human event into data. That's what software developers are going to be doing over the next decade, trying to figure out how to change what humans do every day into data. So now it's data. And the funny thing happens, as soon as it becomes data, patterns begin to be enabled. Right? Just using the machine learning built into Azure, all of a sudden my tech is saying, hey, there's a pattern here. There are people that are getting in me that weigh certain amounts. I figured out how to weigh people using just the data. You get in my hot tub and I know what your weight is as accurately as your physician. And if you go underwater, that's a 15% displacement and somewhere between 50, it depends on how big your head is, which actually is calculable based on how big your body is. And so now all of a sudden I know when somebody's underwater too, and now another feature has popped up just because of the data. Maybe I could save somebody from drowning one of these days. And it came in handy actually already. Even having only coded this once, Microsoft reneged on their idea of a vacation and sent me to Holland to give a talk. And there I am, preparing for my talk, and I just thought, bad idea, right? But I thought, oh, look at my phone, and I got an alert from my hot tub. My hot tub's like, hey, there's like 290 pounds of human flesh in me. And it hadn't said human flesh for a while because it knows, right? Bailey's in your hot tub, my daughter. Shay's, it knows my daughter's and my son's weight. It knows my weight. It knows who's in it. 295 pounds of human flesh. Who could that be? I don't know. Let's see. And I thought, wait a minute. 295 minus my daughter's weight equal Dylan. Dylan's in my hot tub with my daughter. And I thought, what do I do? I'm in Holland. What do I do? It turns out the future is really handy for this because all I did was close lid. I call that now the chastity protection feature, right? You see how this is kind of just symbiotic with living your life here. So the next was reorder chemicals. That was simple. In fact, the data got so good, right, that even checking and maintaining the water quality, that was hard. You have to drop little things in, and you got to shoot a laser through it, and it's got to disperse, and you got to gather all that. That was hard, but I didn't need to do any of that. Turns out the hot tub figured it out. This usage pattern requires this amount of chemicals to make that water quality go back. Right, so as soon as you get out, it can actually inject a little bit of chemicals to overcome the organic matter that you put in the hot tub over that 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It figured that out because of the data. That's how powerful data is. It's going to be more accurate than anything we can do by hand. And it can troubleshoot itself. So this is what I'm doing this summer. In fact, I figured this out from the data. Right? All of a sudden, the data got weird. I'm monitoring the voltage use of my pump. And all of a sudden, the data was, the Seattle grid in all cities, it's dirty data. It's a dirty grid. You get power spikes, right, and troughs and busy times, you get all this. But the hot tub figured out, hey, my voltage use is different. I don't know, it never knew why, but of course it's going to learn why in the future. My voltage use is different. My voltage use is different. I kept trying to stare at the data, trying to figure it out. The only thing I could figure out was it's the pump itself. It's nothing externally. And it turns out the pump was failing. I called my hot tub a repair lady, Kat. She came out, and sure enough, the seals were worn. And so now I'm beginning to be able to troubleshoot this based on the data. It knows the moment that the seals and the bearings are beginning to wear. Maybe I'll be able to 3D print these in the future. 3D printing's exciting. Have you all seen what we're doing with 3D printing these days? A couple years ago, we were 3D printing plastic. Right? Earrings was about as good as we could do in terms of not anymore. In 2016, we're 3D printing rubber, we're 3D printing metal, we're 3D printing carbon fiber, we're 3D printing concrete, we're 3D printing sugars, we're 3D printing biological material, 3D printing ears. How much longer until it's livers and hearts? How much longer until we go from sugars to proteins and can literally 3D print that hamburger that you're all dying for right now? That's coming, and so I'm thinking I'm going to be able to 3D print these in place. So that's this summer's. Self-repair is what I've got to do when they make me take another vacation this summer, those evil bastards. And I'll report on that next year. because I like Toronto. Now, the cool thing here is right now my hot tub has nobody to talk to. But what if it did? What if all the hot tubs in the world were on the Internet of Things? They could talk to each other. And when machines really are in the future, they are going to talk to each other, and they're going to figure shit out. They're going to figure out, for example, what's the best chemical for the Pacific Northwest? What's the best chemical for Arizona? Because all those hot tubs in Arizona can talk. Based on these usage patterns, based on where I am geographically, this is the best chemical concoction. This is the least expensive chemical concoction. This is the fastest acting chemical concoction. It's data! And where you find data, you find answers. Tweet that shit right there. That was some good stuff. And they're going to talk and they're going to figure it out. So what do? How do you advertise to machines? You're lucky you're not in marketing or advertising. They're going down before you all do. You all have marketable skills, you'll be fine. They're going to talk to each other and they're going to figure this out. So then, how do you get a new chemical in the ecosystem? You see, once you start casting what's happening now into the future, the questions just start coming up. Who's going to win the future? The people who have the best answer for these questions. So the question is, how do you get a new chemical into the ecosystem? If the hot tubs know, and you can't do it and say, oh, dude, have I got a better chemical for you? Hot tubs aren't going to believe you. They know the truth because they got the data. Here's how you do it. You got to have a better value proposition because the machines are also going to tell you how they determined that was the best chemical. And then this one's the second best. That's one we're going to order when this one's out. They're going to tell you the formula. And then as a chemical manufacturer, say, you're going to be able to play with that. Okay, it's got to be cheaper. How about we just make it free just to introduce it into the ecosystem and see how they like it? What are the levers that we need to tweak? Marketing, advertising, it's all going to be about analysis of data. People who aren't good at analyzing data really aren't going to be necessary in the future. And so maybe you introduce a conditioner or a scent or something into the chemical ecosystem, and all of a sudden the machines know, hey, wait a minute. It used to be that every time James got out of the hot tub, James went right to the shower. Now, the shower is telling me James isn't showering anymore after the hot tub. Maybe he likes this chemical better. Hey, look, he's buying less body lotion. Maybe this chemical is better for his skin color. That's a better chemical for my user. And so all of a sudden, we go from these broad global decisions about what chemical is best in this part of the world down to what chemical is best just for my particular user. And the machines are going to get it right because they're going to be watching every single behavior. They're going to discover the truth. Right? The refrigerators are going to be online. The toasters are going to be making end-of-life decisions. Yes, they will. Your toaster's going to know it's going out. It's going to wake up one day and it's going to go, something's wrong with me. The data says something's wrong with me, and it's going to go out on the internet of toasters. And it's going to say, dude, here's my data, what's wrong? And the other toasters are going to say, oh, dude. They're going to call each other dude, by the way, because they do in the protocol I've designed for my hot tub. Dude, you're dying. Filament number 6, wearing thin. Based on the data, you got about 6 days to live. And that brave little toaster. That's how I discover who the parents are in the crowd. That brave little toaster is going to have to order its own replacement. And it's going to know what toaster to get to. It's going to know. It's going to know that if you work for UXPA, you're going to get a green toaster because that's your favorite color. And it's just going to give me the old gray one because I don't care what it looks like, clearly. I just want toast. And it's going to know. Right? Your clothing is going to be on the Internet of Things, so you're going to have to up your fashion level, people. These machines are going to be so small, we are going to be able to sew them into the collar of my Chucks could contain a supercomputer in the future. It's going to be there, right? And I'm going to see it. I'm going to see that one shirt. Actually, I don't see it. You people really need to up your fashion game. There it is. I like that. Look at that scarf. I love that scarf. My daughter would love that scarf. Now, I could come over in the present and have a really creepy conversation with you. I can't walk back in. Like, hey, where'd you get that? My name's James. I'm harmless. Or, instead, I could aim my tech in her way, and it would communicate with her scarf, tell me where you got it. By the way, you might even get paid for the referral if it can be traced back to you. Tell me where you got it, and have it 3D printed at home waiting for my daughter on her birthday. How cool would that be? So, dress a little bit better because you might get paid for your fashion in the future. This future contains no screens because we don't need them. Our screens are for telling our tech our intent. I want to do this. If our tech already knows, why do we need the screen? And then the screen is also for the tech telling us, hey, here are your choices. What do you want to do? But it's already going to know the answer based on big data. So why do we need the screen? By the way, it's kind of cool. If you take away the screen from this phone, you take away the need for most of the battery, somewhere between 73 and 78% of the battery. All it does is in service to the screen. You're basically left with tech about the size of my... I chose the right finger this time. I'm applying a growth mindset to my talk. You're left with tech about this big, right? Now Moore's law is going to really, really shrink that over time, and so the idea of that in our clothing is well within reach. But occasionally we're going to need a screen. Occasionally we're going to need to talk to somebody about something, and that's where the other component of the future comes in. Virtual, augmented, mixed reality, whatever you want to call it. This is Microsoft's offering HoloLens for this. Although this is a total bullshit scenario because no daughter asks her dad how to fix something. Dads don't know how to fix shit. You ask YouTube how to fix something. Everybody knows that. That's bull. But let's go to this one instead. Right? We're going to be able to watch sporting events. We're going to be able to work on documents and presentations and stories and movies, all in a very personal or in a group setting. And this technology is also subject to Moore's law to the point that it's wraparound headset today, it's eyeglasses tomorrow, and in the future it's contact lenses and maybe even corneal implants at some point, where this is just built into us as a human being. We certainly won't be carrying them around. So, how do we make money in this future? Because what I'm implying is a future where really we're not all that necessary. Our machines are doing everything and making all of the decisions for us. So I want to do the same thing. I want to go back in time and talk about how we've made money in the past. And of course, in the web era, it was all about advertisement. Check this out. This is why browsers have remained static for 22 years. They're the perfect ads monetization little beast. Think about how you browse. You enter a search term, you get a SERP. You click and you get a page. It's stop, start, stop, start. It's just like the NFL. You play for 10 seconds and you stop to make some money. They're perfect little ads monetization beasts. But then we get to the apps world and all of a sudden it's a lot harder. An advertisement on this little screen is going to take up most of the screen. Are you really willing to do that? They launched that app to get work done. You're going to put an ad on it, really. And by the way, you can make those ads go away for only 99 cents. Not for a year, but forever. Or you can install one of those things that puts that one app in airplane mode so you never see that ad again, right? If the browsers are like the NFL, apps are like soccer. They never stop kicking that little ball around. They don't pause for commercial breaks. And if they did, what do you think soccer fans would think? They'd stop watching your channel. They're just like apps. It's a lot harder. So you have to hide the ad on the jersey. You have to put it behind the coach's box. You have to play all these games. So the purchase economy is really the defining economy for apps. Now, I think this purchase economy is going to get a lot bigger before it gets smaller. Before we get to the future, we are going to have this kind of pre-future where all of these technologies are going to migrate from ads to something else. Take Twitter, for example. I tweeted this a year ago or something. Hey, I'm going to Boston and New York City. Any locals who can hook me up with some live music recommendations? No one had any recommendations. I got 2 people favorited. Why would you favorite this tweet? James can't find no music, asshole. Makes no sense. And I thought, this is silly. Twitter has got to be full of music venues in Boston and New York with Twitter accounts. Here's buyer and seller in the same ecosystem, and we're living off of ads? Are you kidding me? So I wrote a little code, which is what I do when I get pissed off. I wrote a little code that searched through the Twitter accounts and found 1,500 accounts that claimed to be live music venues in New York and Boston. Handful of lines of code, nothing. And then I took all those account handles and wrote in a loop, sent that tweet to them, and guess what happened? Within 1 minute, check it out, 1 minute, I got 13 responses back. Hey, James, come to the Hyatt Regency, we're playing jazz. Jazz. Left swipe. And Boston Symphony says, oh, James, dude, we got classical music. Now, I'll tell you, well, since we legalized marijuana, classical music is sounding pretty good. But not good enough, because the next one is the Orpheum, and they got alternative rock. That's my genre. Cage the Elephant and the Foals, 2 badass bands. You're going to see this. Facebook and Twitter are going to wake up and understand they have this closed ecosystem where buyers and sellers are roaming freely. And they're going to figure out, because neither of those companies are stupid, despite the fact that I wrote a blog post called Twitter is Stupid. Go on, Google it. They're going to wake up and figure out they've got a captive audience of buyers and sellers. Of course, they're going to connect us because it's the right thing to do. So I think as we move into this device world, we're also adding subscriptions, right? There's some overlap here. We're already into the subscription world. How many subscriptions do you have right now? Spotify, Netflix, Office 365, Azure, AWS, whatever, right? Your phone, that's a subscription. We're already oversubscribed, your cable TV. And so imagine this scenario, the RunP app, how would that person get paid? Well, your tech's going to follow you to the bathroom. Your tech's going to recommend a pee time. Your tech is going to, notice you, And they're going to realize that, hey, this is third-party value up in the cloud. It just got consumed by one of my users that I found for this developer. Let's pay the developer. 4 cents, 8 cents, 13 cents. 3-hour Hobbit movie, 25 cents. Whatever it happens to be. So micropayments are going to be the way. It could be a future where you make your money a few pennies at a time, which means the more value you inject into the ecosystem, the more monetary reward you get out. You cannot advertise your way into the future. You're going to have to provide actual value. Who wouldn't want to live in that world? Internet of Things is going to add sharing. It already has. We share our cars through Uber. We share our homes through Airbnb. I'm going to share my hot tub, $100 an hour. Why not? It's completely self-maintaining. And if you leave too much organic material in my hot tub, I'm going to 1-star you. And no other hot tub is going to allow you to set body in it. That's the way it works. Now, you fast forward into the future, and you get into the future where machines are doing everything, the future I've already painted. How do we make money then? I'm not so sure I know. When it's the case that machines are better at every single thing than we are. They're safer drivers. They don't crash airplanes into the side of mountains. My son to this day, he's 18 years old, the vanguard of Generation Z. He walks into an airplane and he looks into the cockpit and he says, damn, there's humans in there. Because he knows humans aren't necessary. Machines are already flying them. The humans are there to make people older than him feel comfortable. You see, many of us in this room are already too old to really have much of a say in the future. It's Generation Z that's going to decide. And they're going to decide on self-driving cars. They're going to decide to not go to stores and try on clothes. They're going to decide, they're going to look you in the eye, Mom, you drove me around in a minivan? Do you know how dangerous that is? The probability of me dying in that van was very high. What were you thinking? They're going to embrace this. They're not going to want surgery from a human. They're going to want surgery from a machine. They're not going to want a house that's hand-built by machine. You kidding me? Why? Machines are going to get better and better and better at nearly everything humanity does. What then? Make all the money you can in the next decade. What then? Where does that leave us? Is this why state after state is beginning to legalize marijuana? It's preparation for the future. This is a harbinger that, look, just get high because you're not going to have to do shit. Sit around and write music and poetry and tweets. Is that our future as human beings? There's going to be a time here when our machines are so powerful that they may just give us our humanity back. That people aren't going to be staring at screens all day long and instead staring into the eyes of another human being and having actual, real, meaningful conversation and grow. But then what? After that? It turns out we're machines too. And we are going to rise to the challenge by making ourselves better. The Human Brain Project, much of it centered right here at the Paul Allen Institute in Seattle, Washington. Billions of dollars from the EU, from private billionaires. The U.S. government is going into understanding our brain. Look, we mapped the human genome with shit more powerful than what I carry around in my pocket in the 1990s. The human genome! Not an easy problem, and we mapped it with basically the equivalent of a Windows phone. In 13 years it took us. What an accomplishment. We're not using these machines anymore. We've got much, much more powerful machines right now. Millions of lines of code are executing, trying to decode us, our brains, the thing that makes us conscious, the thing that gives us thought, the things that allow us to subjugate this world. And we're figuring it out already. We're already understanding what depression and anxiety. We're going to be able to detect that panic attack. Oh, wait, maybe you all don't live in Seattle. Maybe you don't have these things, but some of us do. Some of us at some point get so overwhelmed with the world that we can't function. Some of us suffer from self-doubt, not sure that we can face this world. A fraud complex. What if they find me out? Understand, I'm not as smart as I think I am. They think I am. We're going to be able to detect that. And some little machine in your brain, just at that moment, a little squirt of dopamine, whatever. No more panic attacks, no more schizophrenia, no more bipolar. We're going to figure us out. And when anything is wearing out, it's going to be replaced. We are going to hyper-evolve with these machines because we are a machine too. And the match between the human brain, augmented by the power of these magic machines, is going to turn us into superheroes. That is dangerous, a very dangerous situation. If we end up as multiple species, World War III isn't going to be fought among countries. World War III is going to be fought among species, the augmented and the not augmented. We have some hurdles to jump. But until then, I think this is going to be America's grand challenge. This is going to be the world's grand challenge. This is going to be humanity's grand challenge. To figure out what we can do with this, to become the healers that we were meant to be, the terraformers of our solar system, the explorers of our planet, the builders of a peaceful, a society that works, not just for the 1%, but for everyone. Maybe, just maybe, we weren't meant to go to heaven at all. maybe we were meant through the power of these magic machines to create heaven right here, right now for ourselves. Maybe, just maybe, the meaning of life isn't something that is given to us by a higher power. Maybe this technology gives us to decide, the ability to decide our own meaning for life. It's something we create for ourselves. Perhaps, just perhaps, God, it is said, created us in his own image. I think it more likely that through the power of these magic machines, we create God in ours. My name is James Whittaker. I work for Microsoft. Peace. It says here I have time for questions. Is that true?
Yes. We'll say about, like, what, 15 minutes? Yeah.
I know I'm standing between you and a bar, but I have the future for you. Questions? There's a mic right here in the middle. Please speak them out so everybody can hear. Feel free to queue up.
They're shy.
No, they're not. They're coming. Go ahead and shout one out, the first person. I'll repeat it. Oh, never mind. This guy's jogging. I love him.
Yeah. I'm trying for you.
Good talk earlier.
Oh, thank you, James. So one of the things that you didn't mention with the person peeing was that their device told them when to do something, because that might make a better decision than the human might. So I guess I was trying to say, would you anticipate that we actually wouldn't have as many decisions to make, and we'd have a whole lot that they would tell us, hey, don't look in his eyes, you better be going to the bathroom.
You know, it depends on how we implement this, right? And some people will probably become dependent on these machines, right? Oh my, it's a good thing instead of the parents telling all the kids, hey, go to the bathroom before we get in the car, right? The tech will tell them. Who knows how it's going to be, but who decides is software developers. This is my vision of the future, and I want you all to have your own. I want you to question every single aspect of everything that I said. Come to your own conclusions, but I'll tell you one thing is for sure. It's the software developers of the world who are going to decide how this gets implemented. And if they innovate, we're going to follow them as users.
So my liberal arts part of me came out of me, and all I could think of was Yates.
Did you get it back?
You know, I never really got rid of it. I think that's why I actually do pretty well in UX, even though I started off as a dev. Also, the reason why it works in UX is because I can call bullshit on when devs say they can't do something. But I'm reminded of, the Second Coming and what rough beast slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. I guess two questions for this. One is, we know that every time one of these revolutions has happened, that there's always the pain. You said so. So there's gonna be pain when the machines rise. In fact, horrible, horrible pain, because it will track us down. And then we will all die, and Arnold Schwarzenegger will try to save us.
By the way, that's his opinion. You all create futures where we die or where we live or where we fight it out. Well, I've actually written extensively on this on my blog. If you go to drjamesw.com and follow my blog, I've got a blog post called Rise of the Machines where I predict the future that I think is going to happen. Spoiler alert, we don't die.
Well,
please continue.
We don't die. I mean, we never have. We moved faster around the world by stuffing ourselves in the tubes. The jet age completely revolutionized us. But we also know the downsides that came with it. Everything as little as jet lag all the way to massive disease vectors and everything in between. We know where we currently stand. We have an unequal society. We have a position where certain people have a certain amount of advantage, and people don't have an amount of advantage. I mean, Thiel, for as much as I hate him, was really clear about that Palantir is about finding the information inside of the data and using it for the good that comes with it, not the machines trying to find it. So if we are removing the humans from the machines, if we are doing all this stuff, what is the pain that comes after this? And what comes after that revolution?
So that pain in the next revolution, right? So you picture that the slide I had with all the different phases. I don't know. I mean, no one has ever been able to predict 10 years in advance. I think that anyone who tries is doing nothing more than guessing. So what is going to be the pain? Is it going to be that the machines are making decisions for us and we become less intelligent, less thoughtful? You know, all those things that happened with jet travel that we didn't anticipate. We're not going to anticipate these either, but we're going to do it. If there's one pattern, humanity does it anyhow. Unfortunately, it's going to be the capitalists and the wealthy who are the first to benefit. And so that's where I think the really dangerous scenarios are, because this isn't just incrementally getting wealthier and being able to do things more than the people below can do. This is going to be completely new scenarios that might only be the domain of the wealthy. And if you think about it, technology is already that way. Right? Who can afford iPhones? Who can afford to get on page 1 of Google? The wealthy. So who's benefiting the most from current technology? The wealthy. Why is the future any different? I'd like it to be. Thank you. That was a good question. He and I could sit and have a few beers, and it would be next week before either one of us emerged from that.
I have great whiskey.
I'm from Kentucky. You're speaking my language, but we call it bourbon. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up a scenario that we might have all experienced here over the last week. We all, at some point, had to use that P app in some way. We went to the bathroom, and there are several sensors and mechanisms that service us, but some of them don't have the soap. Some of them require me to find out the exact specific location that's not too far away, too close, up or down. And there are millions of these little things that are getting smaller that someone has to fix. So I kind of wonder when I think of all the things that go into a self-driving car.
I complained about this question, but I think I'm the one that brought up urination, didn't I? I started this whole thing, didn't I?
No, I mean...
But all these things, you're right. I mean, you know, some of the things I think that we are going to solve first with the machines are going to be the highest value stuff. Like me doing this to get soap and me doing this to get soap, the value is kind of low. Like I point out to the people at Microsoft, we have facial recognition and I can log into my phone, which takes just about as long as me typing my password. And so, you know, but that's, see, here's the point. Users aren't going to follow the innovations that don't matter. They're going to follow the innovations that really do matter. And so winning the future isn't going to be the P apps of the world. I did that in order to make sure that you understand that this future is going to be completely different and big data and devices. It's the scenarios that really matter. It's the scenarios that open the world to more users doing more things. Those are the things that are going to draw developers to innovate, and those innovations are going to draw users. So, okay. But we'll do it anyhow. We will do things that save a half a second just because that's what we do.
Yeah.
We write code.
Hi.
Hey.
So I want to imagine and dream with you in this space, since I feel like you've opened up a really good space for futurism. And imagining a world where there is no distinction between machines and us, right? We're talking in the language and the semantics of how you've been talking. It's webs, it's apps, it's things, it's machines. It's separate, right? And it's servicing us. But in a possible future where all of that's collapsed and we've all become the machines that serve ourselves and there is no distinction, I'm curious about how we can think about programming and making patterns around programming equity. Because I think that, I think it was Dylan over there, who's kind of pointing at this, because at the end of the day, if a lot of power is going to be in the people who write the future, whether it's developers or whatever, whoever you want to call them.
And it always has, right? If the machines do take over every job, as I'm predicting, software engineers are going to be the last ones to go. So if there's any advice I have for the future is learn to freaking code.
I don't want to like dive all the way deep into that. But whoever is, however who is writing the future is doing that, I want to kind of open up that that thought processes around how we can, in the parlance of what you're saying, program equity, because I think that is going to be a very powerful challenge that everyone in this room and all the developers who are our friends can really work toward.
Actually, I think machines make it possible for the first time. The web, all of these technologies, mobile, all they have done is increase the gap, right? The gap between the 1% and the rest of us has grown like crazy over the last 2 decades, and technology is part of that. If you want your website to be seen, you've got to pay the Google tax. You want to get seen on your app in the App Store. You all just saw an app that all of you all could use at some point in your lives, and very few of you all actually own, right? This is completely undiscoverable, which means you've got to buy your way into discoverability. I think what the machines do is they get to make the decision. The hot tubs get to decide what's the best chemical. The blockchain robots that make lawyers and accountants and politicians unnecessary in the future, they are going to get to decide the laws, and they are going to do it without bias and incapable of being bribed. So I think I agree with you. I think what you're saying is we have a shot at equity, dude, right? How do we make this happen? I think it's a great discussion. I don't have an answer. I don't think there is an answer. I think it's up to us over the next few years to collectively come up with that answer.
Cool.
Thank you. I think that was his way of saying good answer. That's how I'm interpreting it anyhow. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hi there.
I'm from Oregon, where
Sweet.
things are also legal.
Neighbor. Good beer.
Yes.
Good beer, too. Well done on that.
Yeah. You've mentioned 2 things, the future with the hot tubs knowing things and becoming better hot tubs, and legal weed. So what's your thoughts on those 2 things together? Does the weed become smarter and know things about you?
I think your machines are going to be able to pick the type of weed that's good for you. Right? Because I don't know, so if you all live in a state where this isn't legal, wow. I'd never realized there were so many active ingredients in this product. And so, it's going to understand, hey, you have a disease, and your disease can be treated with cannabinoids, but your system can't handle THC. The high gives you panic attacks. And they're going to know that somehow, right? Through brain chemistry or through big data and realizing my human falls into this category, and this category is known to be low tolerance for THC. And so then it would prescribe a weed that's very low in THC. We sell marijuana in this state that will not get you high, but is amped like crazy in CBDs and cannabinoids that have proven medical diagnoses. Same thing for any kind of medicines. It's going to understand, this is my human's number. It's not going to be a pill. It will somehow manufacture it, 3D print it in the exact dosage that will cure you and minimize the side effects. Because right now, all of our drugs are for 6-foot-tall white guys. And that's why everyone else has side effects. And so all that's going to be personalized in the future. I have never been asked a question that contained marijuana in it. That was awesome. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. So this is a very exciting vision of the future, but one thing I noticed...
She said this is a very exciting vision of the future, just in case you all didn't hear it. Go ahead.
One thing I noticed, though, that I think is significant to it being an exciting and not a scary vision of the future is that your machines are unbiased. But what we're seeing right now is that machines aren't unbiased. They inherit the biases and assumptions of their creators.
They don't inherit it.
Well, they include them.
Those biases are purposefully programmed in
Right.
by the developer.
So my question for you is why you see the future as not including those, or what would you suggest we do to guard against it?
Guarding against it is tough, right? The software developers get to make the rules. We always have. For the last few decades, we have made the rules that the rest of society have lived by, and we're going to get to do it again because we can code. And so I think more people need to learn to code so that more people other than us alpha nerds can do this. More people with more diversity. We need more women programming. We need more millennials and Generation Z programming. We need more people from third world countries programming. We need more people from second world countries programming. It can't be the same people that have been decision makers in the next generation too, or we're going to get their same biases. And so that's the democratization that we seek. The democratization of the technology that it takes to create the future. And that's programming. Teach your sons to program, but definitely teach your daughters to program. We need them more. Follow me on Twitter, read my blog, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.